good evening, Little Masters, and welcome to episode 250. I don't know, should we have a party? This is episode 250. It's a big number.
It is, yeah.
Of the Prancing Pony podcast where, well, we've not had any sleep, let alone beautiful sleep. Thank you very much, Gollum.
We've not had any sleep in 250 episodes.
That is sadly true.
But we'll go if we must. Folks, Go ahead and pull up a bench in the common room. I'm Sean Marchese, the Lord of the Mark, and I'm here with the man of the West, who has extensive experience with orc graffiti, and you don't want to know where from, Alan Sisto.
It is true. After much effort, I've been able to translate one of the more obscure references on that statue. It appears to be a series of orcish numbers. It looks like an 8 followed by a 6. Then there's a 7 and 5309. All right, folks. I'm so sorry.
Gollum, who can I turn to?
All right. Sorry, not sorry. Folks, tonight we're going to be joining Frodo and Sam on the dawnless day. So exciting. Such a gorgeous day. As Gollum, not Jenny, returns and urges them onward towards the crossroads.
No, Gollum, please lose that number.
Please.
Folks, here at the Prancing Pony podcast, we are reading and talking our way through Tolkien's stories of Middle-earth, a few pages at a time.
We dive into the details, point out connections to other writings, talk about our favorite themes.
And we also make sure we have a lot of fun along the way. So we're glad you've joined us.
Yes, we are. And we know you'll be glad you joined as well. But before we get into the chapter, it's time for one of my favorite new segments, Kingly Gifts.
That's right. This segment is all about information for collectors, news about exciting new volumes coming out, as well as education and tips for new collectors just learning about the hobby, publication histories, notable editions, and stuff like that. So if you're looking to get into collecting, or if you're looking for a kingly gift for the Tolkien Collector in your life, well, this one's for you.
That's right. Now, our guest this time around is Chad High, also known as Mr. Underhill. He's a moderator over at the Tolkien Collector's Guide website, tolkienguide.com.
He's also the founder of the Friends of Mr. Underhill Smile of the Tolkien Society, located right down the highway from me in Houston, Texas, which is an amazing group of people that includes many good friends of mine. I've gotten the chance to know many of them personally at Moots and online, and I just have to give a shout out to them.
Yeah, I met a number of them at TexMoot last month. And of course, I've gotten to play a little Dungeons and Dragons with Chad and a bunch of folks from the group online for the last several months. So it's been great.
Awesome.
He's also, of course, one of the two Chads who host the Texas Tolkien Talk podcast, which you should definitely check out after you're finished listening to this podcast.
But without further ado, let's get him out here and let him start talking.
Mm-hmm.
So Chad, hi. Welcome to the Prancing Pony podcast.
Howdy, guys. Really good to be here.
It is our pleasure.
Great to have you.
Well, Chad, you've heard the show. You know the question we ask everybody who comes on the Prancing Pony podcast. When and how did you first discover Tolkien's work? What was it like for you and what kept you coming back?
Yeah, it's a great question to start with. I've told this story several times, so let me make sure I get all the details correct. I was 8 years old. It was the summer. I was transitioning from one grade to the next, and I wasn't doing very good in school. And my parents decided that I was going to read more, and they took me to, we have these bookstores, and I was living in Austin at the time, where I grew up, and we were going to a bookstore called Half Price Books, and they marched me in, and they said, okay, you're going to pick out 2 books, and you're going to read these books over the summer. And one of the books that I found was a very old, battered, beat up copy of The Hobbit. I liked it because it was the old Ballantine edition with the lion on the cover. And it's got the really psychedelic drawings on the cover from Barbara Remington, and it's got the little emus and things on there. And, I was a kid, and I had heard the word The Hobbit before. I wasn't familiar with it other than that. So it was one of the books I bought that day. I took it home and I read it in about 3 weeks. And then I read it again. And then I read it again. And I haven't stopped reading it. I still have that copy. I've got it somewhere in my stuff here. It's buried in a bin right now, but it's pretty beat up. It's all taped up because it's been read many, many, many times. It's been read by my wife before. It's been read by my daughter. It's definitely been well loved, as we like to say in the community. And then I moved on. When I was a little bit older, I moved on to the Lord of the Rings. When I was in junior high, the school librarian kind of hooked me up with some copies, and I had them checked out the whole time all the way from 6th grade to 8th grade. I never kind of brought them back. And by the time I was leaving junior high, he allowed me to keep those and take them home with me. So I guess the school probably ordered some new copies. He probably was able to do that for me. So, and I still have those as well. I tried to read the Silmarillion when I was in high school, and it did not go well.
I feel your pain. Yeah.
I know that, a lot of us have that story. I was interested in some other things at the time. I was reading some other things at the time. I just wasn't in a place for it.
Yeah.
And I came back to it as a young adult, and I had gone through some things, and I had kind of refocused and changed I'd had a new perspective on a lot of things, and the Silmarillion spoke to me in a way that it didn't the first time around. And so from that point on, that was my early 20s, I was pretty much hooked. And Tolkien has always been a presence in my life ever since.
That's awesome. I have to ask, what was the other book you bought that day? Do you remember?
Yeah, I still have that book too. It was a book called The Castle in the Attic. Are y'all familiar with it?
I'm not.
No.
It's a children's book about a boy who has this model castle that's in his attic, and the story focuses around him and a knight character that comes to life, and the knight character brings the boy, shrinks him down and brings him into the castle, and it's about the adventures that the knight and the boy have.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's one of those really interesting things to me. It's such a simple act, just walking into a bookstore and walking out with a couple of books that you just picked because you thought the covers looked cool or whatever.
Yeah.
And you have no idea that one of those books is going to send you on a lifelong journey that is going to define a major part of your identity and your circle of friends and your activities. And then the other one is just, it's a nice book. It might still be a book that you really like. But it's just one of those really interesting things to me. So that's why I had to pick at that thread a little bit. I hope you don't mind.
I think about that all the time, actually.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Isn't it?
Well, you've told us how you discovered Tolkien's work. Tell us how you got started as a collector of Tolkien. How long have you been actually collecting Tolkien's books? And did you start out your collecting career with Tolkien, or were you collecting other books before you got to Tolkien collecting?
So my collecting career has actually been in fits and starts. I've gone through periods where I was really into collecting, and then I've gone through periods where I've been focused on other things. Collecting really started with me around the time that the Jackson films came out. So at that point, that was around the time I was getting into the Silmarillion, like I had said earlier.
Okay.
Right.
And the Jackson films were coming out, and obviously that was a really fun time for all of us who were, y'all did your thing when the Jackson films came out.
Oh, yeah.
For those of us who were around then, I know a lot of people that are into Tolkien now were kind of too young. I've talked to a lot of people that were just kids when the films came out.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel really old.
Me too.
But that was a crazy time. And the sheer amount of Tolkien stuff that became available for the consumer, it cannot be understated.
No.
Yeah.
I remember it was during that time that I didn't really have a whole lot of Tolkien stuff, and I was getting back into it, and I wanted to be a part of it somehow, and I wanted to connect with Tolkien somehow. And I looked at the books that I had, and I kind of decided, well, these books that I have here, I've read these, and they're really beat up. I'd like to have a really nice set. I'd like to have a set that I just kind of keep nice, and I'm not going to read them, and they're just going to be really nice to look at. And that's what I did. I bought just a set of standard trade hardbacks. It was a box set. And then I thought, and this is where collectors go down to the rabbit hole. You say, well, I've got that one. But there's this one over here that I'd really like to have too. And that was the Houghton Mifflin had put out a set of movie tie-in hardback books. I'm looking at it right now. It's in a box that's got movie stills on it, and then you pull the books out, and they've got pictures of Christopher Lee on Two Towers as Saruman. They're just movie time, but it's the same exact books if you take the dust jackets off. But I thought, that would be really nice to have those too. And and now we're here. 20 years later, we're here, and I'm talking about all the different things that I have.
Oh man, that is awesome.
It's interesting to hear you say that, because we were just talking to Clifford Broadway, Quickbeam from the
Cliff.
Net a couple of episodes ago. And we were talking about, being a Tolkien fan at that time when suddenly there's just so much Tolkien stuff out there. And it was a really exciting time. And
Yeah.
I'm like you. I've got a couple of editions from then. So I started with the old Ballantine paperbacks with the 80s art on them with, the Legolas that looks like Fabio and all that stuff.
Oh, I love those.
Bilbo looks a little bit like Benny Hill.
Oh, man. Yeah, we love to hate those in the collecting community.
Yeah, I mean, the books are fine, but the art, oh, man.
It's so great.
And it was right when the movies were coming out that, much like you, I said, okay, I want to get a nice new edition. And I did. I got a trade paperback with a tie, and it's just got like a Nazgul on the cover, and it's got, it's kind of like a blue and black cover, just a trade. And I passed that one around to friends for a while when the movies were out.
You passed it around to friends, Sean. No.
I'm trying to share the love. I was really popular as a Tolkien fan when those movies were coming out. And
I bet you were.
Everybody was like, oh, I want to learn more about this world. And so I would hand this book out and, here, try it. Have you read this book? The Book of Our Savior, J.R.R. Tolkien. And that's what I would do. But then I also did get a hardcover that I kept pristine, and it's also like a movie tie-in hardcover. So, I mean, I don't know if it's actually worth anything, but I guess it's one of those collector things, right? Like it may not be worth anything monetarily because it's just a regular hardcover with a movie tie-in dust jacket on it. But it means something to me, right? And that's one of the interesting things I've learned about collecting recently is it means different things to different people to be a collector, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it does. Full disclosure, I may or may not have referred to my books as my babies at one point. So that can tell you how much they mean to me.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, Chad. Well, we had Andrew or Trotter on last time, and he's got a soft spot for hobbits, of course, as you know. But you've got a lot of hobbit editions yourself, but you also have a few sets of the first U.S. edition of The Lord of the Rings, published by Houghton Mifflin, as well as some UK Allen and Unwin's as well. Tell us about what makes these volumes interesting. You mentioned an interesting early history of printing successes and problems, for example.
Yeah, so the early printing history of The Lord of the Rings is very complicated. It's very convoluted. When you dig deep into the information that's provided, there's a lot of missing sort of information. There's been a lot of communications that have been sort of lost over the years between Allen Unwin, Houghton Mifflin, the distributors, the printers. And so it's actually a really fun scavenger hunt, if you'd like to think about it that way, trying to piece together the early printing history of The Lord of the Rings, and especially if you're trying to do it for both the US and the UK, which are vastly, vastly different in terms of what they used and how they went about it, because it's really different in different sets of years. So when you're looking at the history of the UK printings, you're really looking at, and for listeners out there, the UK first edition of Lord of the Rings, if you kind of don't know what I'm talking about, they are sort of, they're cream colored. They have cream colored dust jackets. The books are red, and they have Tolkien's drawing of the ring and the eye on the front. And they're pretty minimal. They just kind of say the title in black and red. And the reason that they look that way is not because of what Tolkien wanted. Tolkien wanted them to look completely different. And you can actually you can see Tolkien's vision in some later printings done by HarperCollins in the 90s and a little bit more recently. Tolkien had these dust jackets designs that he drew, and he submitted them to Allen and Unwin. And he actually submitted them to Rainer Unwin, and Rainer Unwin kind of tried to work his magic a little bit, but it just didn't work out. The Allen and Unwin wouldn't foot the bill for the cost. You have to remember that in 1950s England, the cost of printing and the cost of using paper had gone way, way up in the immediate years after World War II. And so there were lots of cost concerns. And the way that Allen Unwin sort of deferred some of these costs was they bound these early batches of The Lord of the Rings in sheets of 2 or 3 batches per impression. And the reason they did that was to try to defray the cost a little bit in case the book didn't sell. Because you also have to remember that Rainer Unwin was a big fan of Lord of the Rings, and he really pushed it at Allen and Unwin. Kind of going back a little bit, and it was not a done deal that Allen Unwin was going to get to publish the Lord of the Rings. Tolkien, you guys know this, Tolkien wanted the Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion to be published together.
Right.
Tolkien we all are very familiar with all of the problems that Tolkien had in completing the Silmarillion. And it was really because of Rainer Unwin and the work that he did on Tolkien's end and the publisher's end, kind of smoothing over some of these things and smoothing over some of these hurt feelings in a way to get the manuscript to Allen and Unwin. Tolkien finished the work in the late 40s, but Allen Unwin didn't get the manuscript until several years later. And so anyway, back to what I was talking about the impressions. So Alan Unwin wasn't sure in the early years that the Lord of the Rings would actually sell. That was the big reason why they didn't want to print it in a one volume. They didn't want to pay the money. They didn't want to do the cost. So the British edition sold relatively well in the early years. The British edition sold around 35,000 copies from 1954 to 1961. In the US, the Lord of the Rings didn't sell quite as well. They had much more modest sales. And it wasn't really until the 1960s, with the Tolkien being associated with the countercultural movement and things like that, that sales really took off. So, as I said before, Tolkien was never really happy with the Lord of the Rings being published the way that it was. First of all, he wasn't happy with it being published in 3 volumes, and he was never very happy with it being with the way that it looked. He was never really happy with it. And Tolkien pushed really early on for the Lord of the Rings being published in a 1-volume edition. Mm-hmm. And what you had in the early years, you also had some Tolkien fans. Somebody needs to explore this further. There are some stories and some reports of fans taking the 3 volumes that you could buy at that time and building their own box sets. From what I understand, I've never actually seen them, but there were rumors out there of some of these early fan-made box sets in the wild that people took and they made boxes for them. And so because of this, because the Lord of the Rings was slowly growing in popularity, as early as 1955, Alan Unwin was considering making a 1-volume Lord of the Rings, but it all came down to cost. The cost was just too great, and they just weren't willing to do that. We wouldn't see a 1-volume edition of Lord of the Rings until 1968. There was a paperback that came out with Pauline Bain's art on the cover, and then a year later in 1969, the first hardback 1-volume edition of Lord of the Rings came out, and that's the India paper edition. It's a very, very well made. Yeah, it's black. It comes in a slipcase. It's got gold on the spine. Tolkien's on record as saying that was his favorite edition of the Lord of the Rings.
That's one of my favorite pieces in my collection. My very small, relatively speaking, collection. Yes.
I've got a few, Alan. I like them a lot. I've got several. So one of the things that Alan Unwin would try to do was, so they couldn't do a 1-volume edition. They wouldn't foot the bill for that cost. What they decided instead was they would try to make these box sets. And this is where all the problems really started to happen. The box sets, there's all kinds of problems with them. There were 7 states of the box set total, 6 trade states, and 1 deluxe. And what happened with the box sets were, first of all, the reason that you can't really find a lot of them now is because the boxes were so flimsy. I mean, I have a couple. The boxes are just cardboard. And if you've got, y'all know, a set of hardback books, they're heavy, especially books as thick as The Lord of the Rings. Yeah. And so a lot of these boxes, they were damaged in transit. They're not particularly a whole lot to look at. I mean, they're just white cardboard boxes with a small Lord of the Rings kind of sticker stamped on the side. It just says Lord of the Rings in red. And some of the earlier states have the price, but then you can kind of tell the earlier states from the later states. That's one of the ways you can tell is the earlier states have the price on them, and then the later states, they took the price off.
Okay.
Okay.
There's more of the later states. They started producing the box sets in 1957, and they produced them all the way till 1963. There's a lot more of the later states because at one point during the production process, they switched to a material called millboard. It's a sturdier material. And so they didn't lose as many of the box sets like in transit or, going to the distributor or things like that. And and as y'all know, by the 1960s, Lord of the Rings was becoming very, very popular. So it made sense to produce more of them. So typically, when you look at the secondhand market now, if you were to go on eBay right now and you were to look up Lord of the Rings Alan Unwin box set, if you were to do a search for that, if you got any results for that, it would probably be one of the 5th or the 6th states because those were the ones that were produced in the largest quantity. The real gems as a collector to find are the 1st or 2nd or 3rd states because they only produce sets of 500 to 700 of those, and the boxes they were just so flimsy that a lot of them just didn't last. And so finding a set of those in good condition, you're going to have to pay a pretty penny for one of those.
Oh, I bet.
Another box set that will cost you even more probably is the 1963 deluxe Alan Unwin box set. It's black. The books in the slipcase are black as well. They don't have dust jackets. They have the Pauline Baines artwork all around the box. It wraps from both sides and the spine. It's got that beautiful rendition that she did of all three books with the nice blue and the yellow tree outlines. I have been fortunate enough recently to gain one of those in my collection. It's one of those items you never think you're going to get, and then it comes along, and you never know when it's going to come along again, so you have to jump at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The reason there's so few of those is because Allen and Unwin had the most problems with that box. So the way that it worked was Allen and Unwin would contract somebody to print the sheets, somebody else would bind the books, somebody else would make the boxes, and they would all bring them together to assemble this box set. From what we can tell, there was a lot of miscommunication between the people that made the box, the people that bound the books, the people that printed the sheets. And so what ended up happening was a lot of the boxes were the wrong size.
Oh, wow.
And so they had to destroy a lot of the boxes. So a lot of sets that would have gotten made didn't end up getting made. And I have to give a big shout out to Wayne Hammond and Doug Anderson, because they have done all the work for us in terms of like collecting. You know, in terms of research, anytime I need to do any sort of research or anything, I just go to anything that Wayne Hammond has written, anything that Doug Anderson has written. They probably have an answer for you. And so I'm looking at the set that I have right now. It's right across from me. And even the one that I have, you can tell that the box is not quite fit for the books. Like the books barely fit in there. It's like I've taken the books out like twice, and I'm almost afraid to take them out again because I don't want to damage the box.
Because you'll damage the box.
Right.
The box is gone. Yeah.
Disintegrates.
Yeah, and y'all know that when you have box sets, the value is not in the books, it's in the box.
That's right.
If the books in the box are pretty much worthless. I mean, not now, in a box set like this, the books are worth, but your typical box set, all the values in the box.
It's just like with a book, all the values in the cover.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I'm almost afraid to take the books out because I don't want to damage the box.
Oh, I get that.
So while we're talking about, value, and, you're talking a lot about how the rarity of a perfect box set is driving up the value of these things, right? There's so few that survived over the years. There weren't that many that were made. What is it that defines the value of a volume or a set? Is it all about rarity, or is it something else? And I'm asking this question, but I think you might say there's something else to it as well, because you were saying that the pandemic has done some strange things to the market as well and has really changed value. Tell us a little bit about, sort of in your eyes, kind of what creates value.
So one of the things that we have to know, one of the things that I try to tell people when they ask me is that a lot of times I get asked, somebody will send me a listing and they'll say that the seller has said this book is rare. In the collecting market, there are terms that are misused all the time. Rare is one of them. Very few Tolkien books are actually rare. There are very few Tolkien items that are really, really rare, that don't come on the market very often. If you wait long enough and you're persistent enough, you can pretty much get anything that you want, with the exception of a few very, very rare items. So what creates value? So it depends on the item. It really depends on what's desirable, and it really depends on what people have deemed desirable. Like, for example, like I just said with the box set, when you're looking at books that come in a box set, what collectors tend to value is they tend to value condition. Condition is the number one thing that will drive the value of any book, not just a Tolkien book, but any book. The better condition a book is in, the more value it's going to have. You can have a super, super rare item, or you can have an item that's very old, but if it's missing certain parts to it, like, for example, a book that's missing a dust jacket, that brings the value way down. Dust jackets for hardback books are where the value is. Dust jackets in good shape. Box sets, the box is where the value comes from. And the items that are really going to get and command a high price are books that are numbered. Like they are actually limited.
Truly limited editions, not just
truly limited edition.
Not just special editions or collector's editions.
Correct. It says on the book that this is one of this many, and there are actually very few of those. There's only a few Tolkien volumes that are actually limited, actually rare. And so that's a big driver of value, is if a book is actually rare. And the collector that's done his or her homework will know the difference between a book that's actually rare and a book that's not.
Okay.
So one of the things that we've seen in not just the market for Tolkien books, but the market just for collectibles in general is that in the current economic climate that we're in, we are experiencing a lot of inflation, especially here in the United States. And I know in a lot of other places, we're seeing very, very high prices for things. There's a lot of money out there, and really savvy investors are looking for places to move that money that maybe having their money over here was a really great investment maybe 5 years ago. But in the current climate, they're looking for other places to put their money. And keep in mind, there's a lot of debate about this amongst us Tolkien collectors about what's really driving the prices up. Because you can see, if you go onto the Tolkien Collector's Guide, you can do a search for eBay listings from 5 years ago to now for a particular volume, and you can see the price difference. It's very, very stark. And so what a lot of us think is that there are people new money that's entering the Tolkien collector's market, and they're not buying because they want to collect, because they may like Tolkien. They may be, relatively into Tolkien, but they're buying it to sell later. And we're seeing a lot of that right now in the collector's market. We're seeing so much of it actually that we've devoted a thread to it on the Tolkien Collector's Guide, and we call it dealers flipping books, because sometimes it'll happen instantaneously.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is unfortunate.
That's a shame, but it's just one of those things. There's always going to be something that, speculators are going to latch onto and say, oh, this is the thing where I'm going to make my money. It seems so strange that they would do it with books, but maybe that's one of those things they figure if other commodities are a little bit more volatile, they figure people are always going to want to collect Tolkien books. So,
well, especially with the Amazon show coming out, that's only going to increase the size of the fandom and the intensity of the fandom. Yeah.
It's difficult in the short term because, you may see an item that you've wanted for a long time, but the price is you're just not comfortable paying what someone's asking for it. We like to say we're snakes, and we don't have to eat that often, but when we do, it can last us for a while. And we can sit and wait for that prey to come along in the wild, and when it does, we latch on, and then we're good for a little while.
And you don't let go, and you digest it for the next several weeks. Yeah,
correct.
That's brilliant. I love that analogy.
Awesome.
Bunch of boa constrictors over there at the Tolkien Collector's Guide.
Exactly. It's but I promise we're not that scary over there.
I'm glad.
No, you guys are all super nice, and it's a very welcoming place, even for somebody like me who doesn't know the first thing. Well, okay, I know the first 3 things about collecting now because we've done this segment 3 times, but that's about it.
Yeah, y'all should get on more. Both of y'all should get on more.
We should. I know. I need to get on there much more often. I've really neglected my collecting lately just because we've been so busy with the show and things, but definitely looking forward to getting more in there, even if right now I can't collect given the market. But
yeah.
Though the market's a little hot right now for certain items, there's also always new books on the horizon. What new editions coming out this year are you excited about?
So we're very excited about really 3 books in particular that are coming out this year. The first one is coming out in June. It's called The Great Tales Never End. And it's a collection of essays in remembrance of Christopher Tolkien.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's going to be published by the Bodleian, and it is going to have essays from all kinds of fantastic Tolkien scholars. It's also a beautiful book. It's got a nice orange and blue dust jacket, very reasonably priced, and we're very excited about that. The second book that we're excited about is the reissue of Foster's Guide, which Foster's Guide to the Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and the Silmarillion. We actually had the pleasure of talking with Robert Foster during Tolkien Reading Day over at the Tolkien Collector's Guide, and getting to talk to Bob was fantastic. Getting to hear about his process was really, really cool. So his book, his Guide to Middle Earth, which is the first guide that was ever produced, is being reissued by HarperCollins, and so it's got some really great artwork on the dust jacket from Ted Naismith, with Ted Naismith's piece of the Fellowship going down to Anduin and passing the Argonaut. And it's also being issued in a deluxe slipcase, which it's really, really beautiful. It's this nice green cloth and another one of Ted Naismith's beautiful landscape pieces that surround the dust. It's similar to, if y'all are familiar with the illustrated Silmarillion and the Unfinished Tales that have come out the last couple of years with the art around the slipcase. So it's going to be in the same sort of vein as that. And then the last thing that we're really excited about is in November, HarperCollins is issuing a trade edition of the Silmarillion for the first time that's ever been illustrated by Tolkien's own artwork. So it's going to be It's going to be similar to the Lord of the Rings edition that was issued last year with all of Tolkien's artwork. They're now doing a version of the Silmarillion with all of Tolkien's artwork. And it's nice because it's also a nod to the first edition of the Silmarillion, the UK first edition. Those of you who are not familiar with it, the first UK edition of the Silmarillion has this nice navy dust jacket, and it's got Luthien's device on the cover. And so HarperCollins is kind of doing an homage to that. It's the same sort of blue dust jacket with Luthien's device on the cover. It's really, really cool. I'm really excited about it.
I'm even excited for that one. That one's going to be really cool.
That one's probably the one I'm most. I can't decide. They're going to be all great.
Oh yeah,
yeah, they will indeed.
Awesome. Well, again, Chad, thank you so much for joining us here today. It has been an absolute pleasure having you here for Kingly Gifts. And before you go, tell us where folks can find you online.
So I'm pretty active online. You can find me at the Tolkien Collector's Guide, tolkienguide.com, under the handle Mr. Underhill. I'm, like y'all said at the beginning, I'm one of the moderators there. You can also find me on Twitter at Mr. Underhill. You can find me on Facebook, and you can also find me in the Prancing Pony Podcast group. I'm pretty active there as well.
Yes, you are.
And if you would like to come hang out with me, and those of you out there, if you know Chad Bornholt, Chad in Texas, I'm sure everybody is familiar with Chad Bornholt. If you want to come hang out with us for a little while and do a podcast episode with us, you should reach out to us and come on to our podcast, the Texas Tolkien Talk podcast. It's a podcast where anybody can come on and talk about Tolkien. We have anybody and everybody on, and you get to choose the topic, and you get to kind of drive the conversation. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it is a lot of fun. I haven't been on, but I've listened, and it's a lot of fun. It's a great show, and I love what you guys are doing there.
It really is.
We're still holding out for y'all to come on.
We'll make it at some point, I promise.
Indeed, we will.
And people can find you in Amon Hen pretty soon too, right?
That's correct. I recently, one of the questions that not only me, but a lot of collectors get is how to identify what printing they have. A lot of what you see online is people will present you a copy of a book, and they'll show you the copyright page, and they'll say, what printing do I have? So I decided to kind of take it upon myself and write up an article on different versions of Tolkien books that I could sort of remember and that I had available. And I decided to write up an article about how to identify different printings and different versions of Tolkien books. And that's going to come out in the next Amon Hen.
Awesome. Well, we'll be looking for that. And folks who are not members of the Tolkien Society should go ahead and join the Tolkien Society so you can get that.
That's right.
And we'll be watching out for that. And again, thanks for joining us on the show here today, Chad.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Totally our pleasure. And with that, we'll return you to the podcast in progress. Now, before we begin tonight's discussion, we want to take a moment to thank all of you who voted for us to win our second Tolkien Society Award for Best Online Content.
Yeah, thank you.
We were up against some incredible competition yet again, and honestly, we were blown away, surprised by the results.
Surprised to say the least. And like you said, I mean, we were up against some greats. I mean, one of our fellow nominees was our old friend Marcel Aubran-Boulis, better known as the Tolkienist.
That's right.
He was nominated twice for the award, actually.
I know.
He was nominated once for his website, thetolkienist.com.
Yeah.
And he was nominated once for his Roving Ranger newsletter, which you should be subscribing to if you haven't subscribed already. It's really awesome.
It really is. And don't forget James Tauber and the incredibly amazing Digital Tolkien Project. We had him on way back in episode 172, and I am sure we'll be talking to him again soon.
I am looking forward to that.
So am I. But again, thank you folks for voting. And wow, we are humbled.
We really are. Truly amazing. Thank you.
So Sean, let's go ahead and pick up exactly where we left off. This is when the hobbits did not shut their eyes. I'm going to have you pick up right after that.
Okay. It must have been a little after midnight when Gollum woke up. Suddenly, they were aware of his pale eyes, unlidded, gleaming at them. He listened and sniffed, which seemed, as they had noticed before, his usual method of discovering the time of night.
Are we rested? Have we had beautiful sleep?
He said.
Let's go.
We aren't, and we haven't, growled Sam. But we'll go if we must. Gollum dropped at once from the branches of the tree onto all fours, and the hobbits followed more slowly. As soon as they were down, they went on again with Gollum leading, eastwards up the dark sloping land. They could see little, for the night was now so deep that they were hardly aware of the stems of trees before they stumbled against them. The ground became more broken and walking was more difficult. But Gollum seemed in no way troubled. He led them through thickets and wastes of brambles, sometimes round the lip of a deep cleft or dark pit, sometimes down into black, bush-shrouded hollows and out again. But if ever they went a little downward, always the further slope was longer and steeper. They were climbing steadily. At their first halt, they looked back, and they could dimly perceive the roofs of the forest they had left behind, lying like a vast, dense shadow, a darker night under the dark, blank sky. There seemed to be a great blackness looming slowly out of the east, eating up the faint, blurred stars. Later, the sinking moon escaped from the pursuing cloud, but it was ringed all about with a sickly yellow glare. At last, Gollum turned to the hobbits.
"Day soon,"
He said.
"Hobbits must hurry. Not safe to stay in the open in these places. Make haste."
He quickened his pace, and they followed him wearily.
As one does when one hasn't slept. Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to the beginning of this, it's a little after midnight on March 10th when Gollum wakes up and, asks them if they've slept. And remember, March 10th is the dawnless day, according to the Tale of Years. And there are a lot of things happening. I love our Kingly Gifts segment. I'm glad we did it. But we kind of need to squeeze in a meanwhile elsewhere in Middle-earth, too. And we just don't have the time. So I'm going to tell you right now what's happening.
Yeah.
We've got the muster of Rohan and the Rohirrim depart Harrowdale. At the same time, Faramir is being rescued by Gandalf outside the gates of Minas Tirith. That's all happening today, and there's more, isn't there?
There is. This is also the day that Aragorn crosses the Ringglow, the river.
Yeah.
And it's the day that Sauron's army out of the Morannon takes Caer Andros and enters Anorion.
That's right. Now, those things are a little later in the day. This, of course, is the first hour of March 10th. It is midnight. Yeah.
That's right. Now, I want to go back to the text here, and one of the first things I notice here is Frodo and Sam have this perception of what seems to be Gollum's ability to determine the time of night by sniffing. Now, what do you make of this? Is he literally sniffing to determine the time of night?
I don't know.
How would that work? I mean, you can't sniff like the stars in the sky, right? You can't sniff the position of the stars or the moon.
No.
I mean, is he literally sniffing? Is he sniffing like night blooming flowers, or is he sniffing, does the smell of morning dew tell him that it's closer to morning? What do you think this is?
I don't know. That is such an odd idea. The fact that he can somehow determine what time of night it is. You would think he would use something easier like moon phases.
Yeah. But then again, he's scared of the moon, right?
He is scared of the moon. That's true. And this is the dawnless day. So there's, incredible cloud cover.
Right.
But how does he use his sniffer to know the time? I don't know. Possibly the flowers that comes to mind. Maybe the smell of the soil, the smell of the earth.
When you wake up early in the morning, which you do more often than I do.
Only because I have to. So I'm telling you, that's.
But you smell that early morning dew. I mean, I know that smell.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And so maybe it's that a little bit. Maybe he's starting to, smell
That's
that
true.
and realize the night is wearing on. I don't know.
But then how would he know when it's midnight versus, let's say, 2 a.m.?
Right, yeah.
I mean, I can imagine
got
the
nothing for
smell maybe would tell him that it is not the 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. slot. It's the 4 a.m. to 5:30 or 6 a.m. slot, right.
Smell might let him know when it's about to be dawn, but it's not going to help him the rest of the night.
No.
It's about 12:47. 12:48, sir.
Yeah. No, I can't imagine that.
I'm telling you, the Gollum echo voice, it's going to be a thing, man.
Oh, my
Just
goodness. The echo or a smartwatch of some kind.
Yeah.
That would be terrifying. Yeah.
Yes, it would.
So, okay, we wonder if he's literally sniffing in order to determine the time. I'm also wondering if he literally cares whether the hobbits are actually rested.
Oh, I think he's being sarcastic as you know what here. I mean,
think he is too.
It's like,
he's been out doing
are we
something.
rested? Have we had beautiful sleep? I mean, he's definitely messing with them at this point.
So. At the same time, though, he actually did sleep, whereas Frodo and Sam did not. So he might be feeling refreshed and be like,
That was some beautiful sleep. Did you have beautiful sleep too, master?
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's being really sarcastic, just kind of messing with them, but I don't know, maybe
I can buy that. I love Sam's grumpy reaction, though.
Oh, yeah.
We aren't and we haven't.
I mean, that's the correct reaction when you haven't had any sleep.
Oh, it is. It's the reaction I get, Dad, did you sleep okay?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even use words.
I guess Smeagol might care if the hobbits are well rested if them being well rested means that he can get them to Shelob faster.
Oh, well, there is that. That's true.
And get the ring.
Yeah.
And he's probably like, hey, rest up, guys. Come on. We got a long way to walk before we get to the spy glass.
The pass of the teddy bear.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, they're grumpy, but the hobbits follow Gollum as he leads them upward and eastward. They're heading towards the mountains now.
Right.
And it's so dark that they're stumbling into branches and trees.
And that's really dark. The ground is broken, too. But Gollum seems to be fine. My hunch is that he knows this area, right? I mean, he's very familiar with this part. And honestly, they would be going much, much slower without him. That much is clear.
Yeah, that's absolutely clear. And another thing that's interesting about this is that they're noticing that every time they go down a little bit, they go up a lot farther, which tells us that the altitude is steadily climbing.
Yeah, they're in the foothills now for sure.
Mm-hmm. And they look back and they just barely see the top of the forest that they had been in.
Yeah, yeah. And we get that great blackness looming, eating up the stars. That is a visual, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
that is really powerful.
Yeah.
And, we talked about this. This is what the Tale of Years describes as the dawnless day.
Yeah.
It also says in the Tale of Years that yesterday, which was March 9th, darkness begins to flow out of Mordor.
And, if you take a look at scheme as well, it gives us this. March 10th, darkness begins to flow out of Mordor at night. So, okay, that can still fit with the March 9th darkness begins to flow if it, went out at night. Frodo and Sam go on during early hours and reach Hogback. No dawn. Lie hid till afternoon. Reach crossroads at dusk and see last glimpse of sun. Okay, look, I know that's a spoiler, but yeah, this is a dark, dark day indeed. And it begins appropriately enough with a very dark night.
And it's so dark
not
that
Batman Dark Knight.
No, not that kind of. It's not the hero we need or
no,
want,
it's not
or deserve.
No, you get me instead.
And it's so dark that even the moon can't fully shine through this darkness. We see that it's ringed with a sickly yellow, which, man, that's a creepy image.
Isn't it? I don't know. It's just foreboding is what it is for sure.
It is. And yet it's still too much light for Gollum.
Oh, yeah.
Because, Gollum says, it's time to hurry. We can't stay in the open. And by the way, it's going to be day soon. So let's hurry. He speeds up and the hobbits follow.
That's right. But remember, it's pitch black. There is nobody around. So when he talks about can't stay in the open, what's he talking about? I got to think that this is still the open because of the ringwraith's ability to detect them at night, as well as maybe possibly the night vision of orcs.
Yeah, very well could be.
What do you think? I mean, the open, it's pitch black.
Yeah, I mean, men are not going to see them here. I mean, maybe elves could, but elves wouldn't be around here.
Oh,
so,
no.
Yeah, you got to think he's thinking about orcs or something worse because he knows the things that are patrolling this area.
He does know. And of course, we had that little hint in the last section of the chapter that talked about, Frodo sensing invisible things walking up and down the road.
That's right. Yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, folks, before we get back to the discussion, we want to make sure that you know that when you finish listening to this episode, the talk continues all night long at the Prancing Pony Podcast.
That's right. Our amazing listener community keeps the conversation going in all of our social media spaces, from our common room on Facebook to our Reddit community, Twitter, and more.
Now, on Facebook, just look for the Prancing Pony Podcast and be sure to follow the page, but also join the group for some great discussions.
And you can find us on Reddit at r/PrancingPonyPod. And we're also at Prancing Pony Pod on Twitter and Instagram.
And don't forget to check out our new podcast, The Rings of Power Wrap-Up, where we discuss, analyze, and speculate all about Amazon's television adaptation of J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth.
Yeah, we're going to be taking deep dives into the lore behind the show. We're going to talk about our favorite themes and characters and a whole lot more. So look for The Rings of Power Wrap-Up and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And check out our social media at Rings Wrap-Up for more.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get back to the text. And Alan, you're going to go ahead and pick up right where I left off.
All right, I certainly will. So they followed Gollum wearily, and then we read, Soon they began to climb up onto a great hogback of land. For the most part, it was covered with a thick growth of gorse and whortleberry, and low, tough thorns, though here and there clearings opened, the scars of recent fires. The gorse bushes became more frequent as they got nearer the top. Very old and tall they were, gaunt and leggy below, but thick above, and already putting out yellow flowers that glimmered in the gloom and gave a faint, sweet scent. So tall were the spiny thickets that the hobbits could walk upright under them, passing through long, dry aisles carpeted with a deep, prickly mold. On the further edge of this broad hillback, they stayed their march and crawled for hiding underneath a tangled knot of thorns. Their twisted boughs, stooping to the ground, were overridden by a clambering maze of old briars. Deep inside there was a hollow hall, raftered with dead branch and bramble, and roofed with the first leaves and shoots of spring. There they lay for a while, too tired yet to eat, and peering out through the holes in the covert, they watched for the slow growth of day. But no day came, only a dead brown twilight. In the east there was a dull red glare under the lowering cloud. It was not the red of dawn. Across the tumbled lands between, the mountains of the Ephel Duath frowned at them, black and shapeless below, where night lay thick and did not pass away, above with jagged tops and edges outlined hard and menacing against the fiery glow. Away to their right, a great shoulder of the mountains stood out, dark and black amid the shadows, thrusting westward. "Which way do we go from here?" asked Frodo. "Is that the opening of the Morgul Valley, away over there beyond that black mass?" Black mass just makes me think of something that Black Sabbath might do, but I don't think that's what he means.
I know, right? Sounds like something from a horror movie or something, the Black Mass.
Oh, my.
Bunch of people over there in white makeup and dressed in black.
A bunch of goths.
Yeah. All right. So going back to the beginning of that passage, they climb up onto this great hogback of land.
Yeah.
Now, you're probably wondering, okay, what's a hogback? Because I had to look this up. Just a long hill or a mountain ridge with a steep side.
Yeah. And then we get this amazing, fantastic, flora-filled description.
Oh, I do love this. There's a lot of great stuff in here.
Yeah, I immediately knew I'm going to hand this off to my incredibly knowledgeable, botany-oriented...
Well, I have a copy of Flora of Middle-earth, and so I can fake it pretty well.
Well, that qualifies in my book, yeah.
So we got gorse, whortleberry, and thorns. Now, according to Flora of Middle-earth, gorse is also known as whin, and this is a plant with yellow flowers that tends to grow among whortleberry and brambles and thorn, as it does here.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, by the way, when Sean mentions thorn, folks, he's talking about thorn as in hawthorn, the tree, not thorns like on a rose. Even though, of course, as we all know, every rose has its thorn.
Every rose has its thorn.
Just like every night has its dawn.
Just like every cowboy sings a sad, sad song.
Just like every co-host sings a sad, sad song.
And every night has its dawn except for this night. Right?
Exactly. This night does not have a dawn. So, man, sorry, not sorry.
Just think that was coming. Your words are poison. Sorry, that was terrible.
That was terrible. Oh, man.
So, no, that's right. Thorn is actually short for hawthorn. It's not referring to just generic thorns. But the Judds do say that both gorse and thorn trees have sharp-pointed branches or thorns. Mm-hmm. And the thorns that the hawthorn tree has does appear to be the origin of its name. It is called a hawthorn because of the thorns it has. Right. So this is not the most pleasant location to spend the night. No. I mean, there's a lot of pointy bits.
No, this is not getting a great review on Yelp.
No.
This is an Airbnb. They're going to get shut down. Yeah.
Yeah.
They also note, by the way, the Judds, that gorse appears as whin after the fellowship leaves the gates of Moria before they find Durin's stone. And it appears to be the inspiration for one of Tolkien's invented flora as well, Aiglas, which grows near Amon Rûdh in the Children of Húrin.
That's right. Yeah, I thought that was really fascinating when I read that.
Yeah.
Now, meanwhile, whortleberry is a low rhizomatous. Now, that's a big word, which means it's a plant that bears a rhizome, which is a long, horizontal underground stem. It's a low rhizomatous shrub that's also called bilberry, which appears also near the Trollshaws.
Oh, yeah.
And it also appears along with gorse and whin on the east side of Moria.
Fascinating.
So Tolkien must know these plants to know to put them together.
He really does, clearly. I love that. The Flora of Middle-earth is a fascinating text just because there's so much to explore in that subject, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. Well, coming back to the text, we see this little hint of something, don't we? The suggestion of fires, the evidence of fires. We read the scars of recent fires. I'm wondering if we're talking about intentionally set fires or maybe the result of lightning strikes. What do you think?
I wonder. I mean, the fact that it seems kind of random makes me think maybe lightning strikes. You know, you would think that if there were intentional fires, if, Sauron's orcs were going through, clearing
an area,
that maybe there would be broader clearings or one big clearing instead.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. I don't know.
Big clearings near the road. Yeah.
I could be wrong, though. I'm not willing to wager
I'm
on
thinking lightning, but we'll get some hints later on that make me think that.
Yeah.
Related to what we see coming out of Mordor here.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're right. It's got to be lightning then. Yeah, because I think if they were doing it intentionally, it would have been done a little bit differently.
Yeah, and it's the scars of recent fires, which
Right.
I think when we put two and two together later, we'll think, okay, maybe.
Yeah, right. Now, we also see that the gorse bushes become taller and they become more frequent as they get near the ridge.
That's right. And they're even blooming with a sweet scent, which makes me think sort of like the last of the joys of Ithilien, maybe.
I think so. Yeah, it's the last of that little bit of herbal floral scent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're so tall that the hobbits can walk upright beneath the thorns.
That's right. They're old and tall, gaunt and leggy below, but thick above.
Mm-hmm. So they can walk beneath the thorns, and they do,
Yeah.
because in the next paragraph, they're now on the other side of the hill.
That's right.
And now it's time to stop and look for a hiding place.
Yep. And they find one under a tangle of thorns. Once again, not going to get 5 stars. But it is, a relatively convenient place to rest, right? I mean, it's a little hollow hall. There's a roof overhead to shelter them of, granted, dead branches and leaves, but it's still a roof. And at first, they're too tired to eat. They're just looking out for the coming day, aren't they?
They are, but the day doesn't come.
Nope.
There's just this dead brown twilight.
Just another reminder, folks, this is the dawnless day.
Yeah.
Just in case
And can you imagine? I mean, it's a blink and you miss it moment, but can you imagine the hopelessness that must be starting to set in? Like,
it absolutely
you're
must.
waiting for day. And I mean, think all the way back to Hurin, right? Day shall come again. Aure en Tuluva. I mean, that's the one constant, is that that there's always going to be a sunrise, but now there's not.
Not today. Not this day.
Wow.
So they can still see the red glare in the east, but they're not seeing the sunrise.
No, they're not. And also in the east, they see the Ethel Duath, the mountains of shadow, frowning at them, black and shapeless.
And they can see them not because it's bright out, but because the edges are outlined against that red glow behind them, which that we're talking about Orodruin. We're talking about Mount Doom.
It's just shadow upon this kind of gloomy red, yeah.
And then they see this especially large foothill that juts out to the west, which prompts a question, doesn't it?
Yeah, probably not a very enthusiastic question, but Frodo asks, where are we going from here?
Yeah.
And he wonders if the large foothill in front of them is the front of the Morgul Valley.
Right. And Sam, of course, doesn't want to think about it. We didn't read this far, but Sam honestly doesn't really care if that's the hill that leads to the Morgul Valley. He doesn't want to think about it. He figures we're not going there today anyway. So then Gollum doesn't agree or disagree with Sam's presumption that they're not going to move anymore. He doesn't answer that question, but he does say they have to go soon. And then he confirms Frodo's suspicion that is, in fact, the way over there, the way to the crossroads. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go ahead and pick up, a couple paragraphs after I wrapped up here with, Sam's pipe dream.
Nicely done. It is a pipe dream indeed. Frodo and Sam took a little food and then lay down. But Gollum was restless. He would not eat any of their food, but he drank a little water and then crawled about under the bushes, sniffing and muttering. Then suddenly he disappeared. "Off hunting, I suppose," said Sam, and yawned. It was his turn to sleep first, and he was soon deep in a dream. He thought he was back in the Bag End garden looking for something, but he had a heavy pack on his back, which made him stoop. It all seemed very weedy and rank somehow, and thorns and bracken were invading the beds down near the bottom hedge. "A job of work for me, I can see, but I'm so tired," he kept on saying. Presently, he remembered what he was looking for. "My pipe," he said, and with that he woke up. "Silly," he said to himself, as he opened his eyes and wondered why he was lying down under the hedge. "It's in your pack all the time." Then he realized, first, that the pipe might be in his pack, but he had no leaf, and next that he was hundreds of miles from Bag End. He sat up. It seemed to be almost dark. Why had his master let him sleep on out of turn, right on till evening? "Haven't you had no sleep, Mr. Frodo?" he said. "What's the time? Seems to be getting late." "No, it isn't," said Frodo. "But the day is getting darker instead of lighter. Darker and darker. As far as I can tell, it isn't midday yet, and you've only slept for about 3 hours.
Guess he should go back to sleep then.
When you fall asleep in the afternoon and you wake up at night, you have no idea what's going on.
No clue. It was like, what happened?
Yeah.
Did anybody get the license plate of that truck? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I've been there.
And not just when I'm blackout drunk either.
I was about to say that. The last time that happened, you must have been when you were blackout drunk, but you beat me to it, man.
I'm taking it back, man.
You got to own it.
Yeah.
Nicely done. So going back to the beginning here, the sky grows a bit darker as the red glare fades, but of course it's still morning. Frodo and Sam eat and rest, but Gollum's not going to do either. He drinks a little bit of water and then poof, he's just gone.
Yeah, and Sam supposes, understandably enough, that he's, maybe he's gone off to hunt or fish, go get some food.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Frodo's turn to watch and Sam's turn to sleep. So he falls asleep quickly and he's quickly dreaming.
Yeah, let's look at this dream for a little bit, right? I mean, we start out, he's in the Bag End Garden, and he's got a heavy pack. There's some symbolism there, I'm sure. And he's looking for something, which is always symbolic in a dream, isn't it?
I love this because I love dream interpretation. I mean,
great,
like you said, like heavy pack, looking for something. There's this huge burden on him.
Oh, man. Mm-hmm.
Having trouble finding something. And what else do we see? The gardens are in terrible shape. You see thorns, actual thorns, right?
Right.
These are not hawthorn trees. These are just thorns. They're weedy. They're rank. There's bracken. These are just like,
yuck.
The HOA is going to come knocking pretty soon.
Oh, man, they're about to repossess this place. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Really bad shape. And he's exhausted, but he knows he has to do the work.
That's right.
Wow.
That is a tough place to be.
He's in an ugly place. There's a dirty job to do, and he's the gardener. He's the only person who can do it.
That's right. This whole idea of looking for something, and maybe even the heavy pack, I think, both seem to presage the temptation that he faces when he takes the ring from Frodo's body, or, well, what he thinks is Frodo's body, in just a few chapters, huh?
Yeah, I think so. And we're going to see this at the start of season 8, when we read that, and then all the clouds rolled away, and the white sun shone. And at his command, the Vale of Gorgoroth became a garden of flowers and trees and brought forth fruit. He had only to put on the ring and claim it for his own, and all this could be.
Yeah. So, I mean, the gardens are in terrible shape. It's the Vale of Gorgoroth. And here, all he's got to do is put on the ring. But I think this part about him being exhausted and knowing that he has to do the work is sort of that hobbit common sense that helps him stand up to that temptation, right? We read later, he knew in the core of his heart that he was not large enough to bear such a burden, even if such visions were not a mere cheat to betray him. The one small garden of a free gardener was all his need and due, not a garden stolen to a realm, his own hands to use, not the hands of others to command.
Yeah, I like that. I think this is definitely sort of foreshadowing that moment he's going to have later on. And he realizes that he's going to have to rely only on his own hobbit sense, his own hobbit strength, right?
Mm-hmm.
To do what he has to do.
And sheer determination, pure willpower.
And sheer determination to keep doing what he has to do. Absolutely. And it's not just about, growing gardens, and it's not just about restoring the Shire, but about continuing on with this quest. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think there's something there too when you talk about restoring the Shire, huh?
I think so, because I think this is also maybe presaging the scouring of the Shire as well.
A little bit. Yeah.
Because, he's foreseeing that there is going to be work to do when he gets home.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to go home to the idyllic Bag End and Hobbiton. He's going to have some cleanup to do.
Yeah. And in a way, he's going to be looking for something. Well, he's going to be looking for a couple of things. My first thought is when he's trying to figure out how to do all this, Frodo has to remind him that, you've got this gift from Galadriel. And if you just, put a little bit of soil in each of these places, it'll, do the trick. But in a way, I almost wonder if he's looking for Frodo, because Frodo never really comes back, does he? I mean, physically comes back, but he isn't Frodo anymore by the time we get to the scouring of the Shire. And
he never quite comes back.
Yeah.
And maybe the Shire, as Sam knew it, never really comes back either.
That's true.
He's going to restore it. It's going to be something new, but it's not going to be the Shire it was.
No, nothing stays the same. No changes are permanent, but change is.
That's right.
Okay. All right, man. We're going to get all those references in. Yeah.
So then while Sam is looking, still in his dream, he remembers what he's looking for. And that's his pipe.
Oh, sometimes a pipe is just a pipe, and
sometimes, but not here. Okay?
No, not here. No.
I'm sure his pipe is not just a pipe here, and it's not a cigar.
No, it is definitely not a cigar. Oh, man. No.
What I'm thinking of with this is there's that quote in Unfinished Tales where Gandalf is talking about sort of the mind-clearing properties of smoke. Do you have that?
I do. That's right. So we get this. But Gandalf laughed and replied, "You would not wonder if you used this herb yourself. You might find that smoke blown out cleared your mind of shadows within. Anyway, it gives patience to listen to error without anger. But it is not one of my toys. It is an art of the little people away in the West. merry and worthy folk, though not of much account, perhaps, in your high policies. I love that.
There you go.
And I think that's the one that everybody hangs their hat on to assume that it is
When
something
they say
stronger. But Tolkien's
it's not
made
tobacco.
it clear. Nicotiana. It's tobacco.
And calling it tobacco several times in The Hobbit.
We're done with that one. Put that to bed.
So I think we've put that one to rest, I hope.
We've turned it into brownies and put it to bed.
We've legalized it in several states and put it to bed.
That's absolutely right. Yes. Oh, man.
But yeah, I think his pipe here symbolizes two things. I think it symbolizes the mental clarity that he's going to need to go on.
Yeah.
And I think it also symbolizes something inherently hobbitish.
Oh, yeah.
Gandalf refers to both of those things in that quote you just read.
Yeah.
It's something that clears the mind, and it's something that belongs to the little people. And I think that's what Sam is kind of clinging to it.
Wow.
Sam's pipe is a symbol of home. Yeah.
It is. Well, definitely a symbol of home. I mean, that's what I was thinking of it as well, is that this is, searching for a way home, searching for the possibility of ever going home. He's the only one of the two of them who still has hope that they might someday get back.
Yeah.
And that hope is really tough to kill for Sam. But it is a challenge, especially on a day like this, especially where they are and where they're headed. And so, yeah, for him, the thought of the pipe is a direct link to home. That's one of the two things that he realizes, right? Oh, not only do I not have any actual pipeweed, no leaf, I'm also very, very far away from the Shire, hundreds of miles from Bag End. That's a hard realization when you can't just, book the next flight home.
Absolutely. And speaking of waking up, he notices how dark it is, and he thinks Frodo's let him sleep all day.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, man, but really no thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, like, why did you let me do that? And Frodo explains, no, it's not. It hasn't been that long, but the day's been getting darker, not lighter.
Yeah, boy, that's creepy. It's not even noon yet, and it's already darker than it was when the sun was first theoretically coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Sam's only gotten 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah. And Sam, of course, being a practical-minded guy, wonders why it's so dark. Is there a storm coming? Oh, yeah. Yeah, there is. More or less.
Yeah, not quite what you're thinking, but yes, very much so.
Yeah. And I'm going to let you go ahead and go back to the text. You're going to pick up just a couple of paragraphs on.
Yes, I will. Sam looked round. Where's Gollum? He said. Hasn't he come back yet? No, said Frodo. There's not been a sign or sound of him. Well, I can't abide him, said Sam. In fact, I've never taken anything on a journey that I'd have been less sorry to lose on the way. But are we just like him after coming all these miles to go and get lost now, just when we shall need him most? That is, if he's ever going to be any use, which I doubt. You forget the marshes, said Frodo. I hope nothing has happened to him. And I hope he's up to no tricks. And anyway, I hope he doesn't fall into other hands, as you might say, because if he does, we shall soon be in for trouble. At that moment, a rolling and rumbling noise was heard again, louder now and deeper. The ground seemed to quiver under their feet. I think we are in for trouble anyhow, said Frodo. I'm afraid our journey is drawing to an end. Maybe, said Sam. But where there's life, there's hope, as my Gaffer used to say. And need of victuals, as he most ways used to add. You have a bite, Mr. Frodo, and then a bit of sleep. All right. Let's go back a little bit before I started reading, huh?
Let's do that. And so, yeah, we hear these sounds, right? And Sam wonders, is it thunder or drums or what?
Yeah. And Frodo doesn't know, but he observes that the ground sometimes trembles, but that other times it's a different kind of sound. It feels like air pressure throbbing in your ears.
Yeah. Ooh.
That's a scary feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was worried if I'm going to get ear damage when I feel something like that.
I know, when something's that loud, that deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Sam looks around and wonders where Gollum is and asks if he came back while he was sleeping.
No.
And Frodo says no, he hasn't seen or heard a sign of Gollum.
Which, of course, immediately gives Sam the opportunity. Well, he's not here. I'm going to talk about him. I have thoughts.
Yeah.
And he does not hold back, does he?
No, he does not.
I can't stand him. I'd like to have him be lost along the way. He just lets it go, doesn't he?
He does. But it would be just like him to disappear now when we really need him.
If we'd really need him, which I doubt. This is really kind of self-contradicting, isn't it?
He's kind of contradicting himself. Yeah, totally.
I don't think we'd really need him, but, we really do need him.
He's disappearing now when we really need him. But, we don't really need him anyway. I mean, I think Sam sometimes just thinks out loud.
He does. That's exactly what I was thinking. He just develops his thoughts as he's going. He does not wait until his thoughts are fully baked. No.
He does. And I mean, frankly, he's being foolish if he thinks that they don't need Gollum. He may not like it, but they do need Gollum.
They definitely need him right now. Yeah.
And I think Sam's just he's just acting out. He's just grumpy.
He's so tired of Gollum,
Yeah.
and I can't blame him.
You can't blame him. No, of course not. He knows something's coming. This is not the best side of Sam here. But
no, and we won't see the best side of Sam, really.
No.
For a while, will we? Yeah.
That's right. But then Frodo reminds him about the marshes. Like, hey, look, Gollum was certainly useful then.
Yeah, we might have ended up, face planted into the marshes and dead there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But notice that Sam quite literally ignores that. He doesn't try to play it down. Oh, we would have gotten out of there, or he didn't help us. He just ignores it and goes on with his tirade.
Because he can't refute it. He's just like, well, just going to pretend I didn't hear that and keep on going.
He's up to no tricks, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
He just, whatever.
Yeah.
He yada, yada, yada's Frodo.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's, well, if he's disappeared, I hope he hasn't gone and joined the orcs or been captured.
Right. Not like, I hope nothing's happened to the poor guy.
Right. Sure.
Oh, I hope Gollum's okay. I hope he comes back. I'd miss him so dearly. No, that's not Sam's thought process at all.
No, not at all.
But he's interrupted by that loud noise coming again. And this is of the first of the two varieties. It's not the air pressure. This is the deep and shaking the earth kind of sound, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It's just got to be intense.
I feel like an earthquake, really. The ground seemed to quiver under their feet. Yeah, and you can, speaking as a Californian, you can hear an earthquake coming if you're outside.
Can you?
Yeah.
I haven't actually been through a real earthquake. I lived in California for 7 years, and I never experienced a real earthquake in that time.
I'm kind of surprised. I mean, 7 years, that's usually about the kind of time frame we get between fairly sizable ones.
I mean, I felt a tremor one time when I was on the third floor of an office building.
Just one in 7 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, Frodo observes after this, like, Sam had said, like, hey, we're going to be in trouble if Gollum falls into other hands. And Frodo says, like, look, man, we're in trouble anyway. All right.
Have you noticed where we are? Yeah.
Have you seen where we are, man?
You know where we're headed. Yeah.
That's right. And this is all coming to an end soon.
Yeah.
Which leads Sam, who has been kind of a jerk in these last few minutes to show us a better side of himself. He shares this really brilliant little piece of wisdom here, doesn't he?
That's right. It's his Gaffer's saying, right? It's his dad saying, where there's life, there's hope, and need of victuals, which, I mean, always need of victuals. I want to talk about this view of hope, right? Where there's life, there's hope. I want to contrast that with kind of the opposite of that, which we hear from Gandalf back in the Council of Elrond, right? This is that line I often like to quote. Despair is for those who see the end beyond all doubt, which you can only do when you're dead or like about to die,
Right. That's the only time you can see the end beyond all doubt.
Right. And so therefore, where there's life, there's hope. So I don't know. Let's talk a little bit about that, right?
Yeah, I think that actually makes perfect sense. It's a nice hobbity translation of Gandalf's
That's true. It's
expression.
a much more simple version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like that. And I think it shows that Sam is still hopeful here. Hey, we're still alive. We've still got our own wits. We've still got our own strength, such as it is right now.
Yeah.
And yes, we are still going. So there is still hope. We talked recently about our hope versus zero hope versus despair, which is like negative hope. We talked about that scale recently.
Yeah.
Sam is clearly in positive hope here. There may not be much hope, but there is some hope.
There is some.
I wonder where Frodo is. Do you think Frodo is at zero hope, or do you think he's actually at despair when he's saying, our journey is drawing to an end?
I think at this point, it's more like zero hope rather than actual despair. But I do think we will see Frodo be filled with some despair in the very near future. Yeah.
I think you're right.
I like this idea that the mere existence of life requires at least some hope, or at least, as we talked about not too long back, the idea of hoping for hope, which, Faramir talked about then. He acknowledged that he had no hope. I don't hope to see you again under the sun, but if one day we do, suggesting, of course, that he does have at least a hope that he could someday hope this.
Yeah. I
think this is the point, right? If you need food, that means you're alive. And if you're alive, you have reason to hope. You're not dead yet.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. If you're sticking up there hanging on a tree with a orc spear in your gut, and you're bleeding out, and you're telling them, tell them Mormagil, Finduilas was here. Oh. You don't need food. And therefore you can give up your hope.
Yeah.
Too soon.
It is too
Sorry.
soon. But
I was going to talk about Celebrimbor on the banner, but we've done that a lot lately. And
yeah, we have.
Yeah, poor guy.
No, I really like that. While you're alive, there's hope. And if you need food, if you still need food.
That's right.
If you still hunger,
there's
hope.
Warrior need food badly.
Hobbit shot the food.
And folks, for those of you who didn't catch it, that was actually a pair of references to the old arcade game Gauntlet.
That's right, man.
Yeah, we're showing
Elf
our age.
shot the food. There wasn't actually a Hobbit in there, but there should have been.
There should have been. That's right. Well, speaking of food, right, he tells Frodo to have a bite to eat, right? You're still hungry, therefore you're still alive, therefore you should have some hope. So he tells him to have a bite to eat and then to sleep while he takes his turn at watch.
That's right.
And kind of our old Sam is back there, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
But that is where I'm going to have you pick up exactly where I left off.
Okay. The afternoon, as Sam supposed it must be called, wore on. Looking out from the covert, he could see only a dun, shadowless world, fading slowly into a featureless, colorless gloom. It felt stifling, but not warm. Frodo slept unquietly, turning and tossing, and sometimes murmuring. Twice Sam thought he heard him speaking Gandalf's name. The time seemed to drag interminably. Suddenly, Sam heard a hiss behind him, and there was Gollum on all fours, peering at them with gleaming eyes.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up, sleepies!
He whispered.
Wake up! No time to lose. We must go. Yes, we must go at once. No time to lose.
Sam stared at him suspiciously. He seemed frightened or excited. Go now? What's your little game? It isn't time yet. It can't be tea time even. Leastways not in decent places where there is tea time.
Silly,
hissed Gollum.
We're not in decent places. Time's running short, yes, running fast. No time to lose. We must go. Wake up, master, wake up!
He clawed at Frodo, and Frodo, startled out of sleep, sat up suddenly and seized him by the arm. Gollum tore himself loose and backed away.
They mustn't be silly,
he hissed.
We must go. No time to lose.
No time to lose, indeed. By the way, have you noticed that Gollum gets a lot of the great lines? I mean, he got that wonderful line, "Don't want fish," which was fantastic. And now we're not in decent places.
Yeah, I love that.
I love
That's
that
great.
line. That really is a good one. But
he's cleverer than he lets on.
He is. He really is. We'll go back to the beginning of that passage. So the afternoon continues, and Sam looks out on a dull gray-brown scene. And that's what dun means, is sort of a gray-brown, sort of dun, dun, dun. Just kidding.
Not that.
It's featureless. It's colorless, right? I mean, we've all seen days that kind of border on this, the really super hazy, super heavy days, muggy, stifling, not necessarily hot, but just kind of this stillness in the air that kind of overpowers, and there's no breeze. But imagine that like amped up to 10, because that's what this is, and it is extremely creepy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Frodo's sleeping, but he's not sleeping soundly.
Oh, no.
I mean, he's tossing, he's turning, he's talking to himself, he's mentioning Gandalf. And I can imagine he is. I mean, one would think he'd probably love to have some counsel from Gandalf right about now.
I'm sure he would. I remember that Faramir believed Gandalf would not want them to go this way. So I'm sure there's a little bit of hesitancy on Frodo's part, isn't there?
Yeah, he probably is thinking that is somewhere in his subconscious.
Like, am I making the right decision? Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, Gollum does reappear. Mm-hmm. And he tells them, wake up, sleepies. It's time to wake up. We have to go right now. And
right now.
And this right away sets off alarm bells.
Oh, red flags. Red flags. Yeah, absolutely.
Why is Gollum so eager? Sam, of course, is understandably suspicious. He asks him flat out, what's your game?
What's your game? I love that.
Yeah.
He tells him, look, it's not even tea time, which, by the way, is about 4 p.m., folks.
Right.
He says it's not tea time in decent places where there is tea time, leading to that great line that we noticed earlier, that very obvious and very honest response. We're not in decent places, man.
No.
Have you
Sam,
looked around?
You're not finding proper scones or clotted cream for miles.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, you're
Sorry.
not. No. Not in the slightest. You're going to be lucky if the only thing you can find is a week-old hot dog on one of those warmers at an AM, PM.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's like the last thing in the world you want to eat.
Yep.
But you might. Yeah.
That's it. But really, it is time to get up.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And Gollum starts clawing at Frodo, who does not react well, understandably, because he's been startled out of sleep. Yeah.
How about just tap me on the shoulder there, little creepy guy?
Yeah, don't claw me, man. I'll grab you by the arm if you claw me.
Man, I might just slap you in the face. I mean, come on. Yeah. Terrible idea. He does insist it's time to go. And in fact, they can't get Gollum to say anything else or even explain why.
No.
Look, the urgency and the sort of refusal to answer questions, it's got to make you think, has he been to Shelob? But the Tale of Years says that he visits Shelob tomorrow, and they're really, realistically, far too far away for him to have climbed all the way up the pass and come back in 6 hours, 8 hours. It just couldn't have happened. What do you think accounts for this unusual excitement? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Maybe just the fact that they're getting close to Shelob. Maybe he's just getting excited because he's laid this plan already. He knows he wants to do this. Yeah. And he knows they're getting close. Not close enough for him to go and tell Shelob they're coming.
Right.
Frodo's the one wearing the green shirt.
I mean, really, is Shelob taking notes? How is she?
Eat everyone but me. Which one is he again?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. He just knows it's getting close.
Mm-hmm.
But again, Sam, he doesn't know what's up, but he knows something's up. He's suspicious, and he is very open about it. Mm-hmm. But Frodo seems unfazed, or is just like, well, there's nothing I can do about it, so might as well just go.
Yeah.
And he does. He prepares to go.
He does indeed.
And that will take us to the end of the paragraph that I only read the beginning of, and then you're going to pick up after that.
Indeed, I will. Very stealthily, Gollum led them down the hillside, keeping under cover wherever it was possible, and running, almost bent to the ground, across any open space. But the light was now so dim that even a keen-eyed beast of the wild could scarcely have seen the hobbits, hooded in their gray cloaks, nor heard them, walking as warily as the little people can. Without the crack of a twig or the rustle of a leaf, they passed and vanished. For about an hour they went on, silently, in single file, oppressed by the gloom and by the absolute stillness of the land, broken only now and again by the faint rumbling, as of thunder far away or drum beats in some hollow of the hills. Down from their hiding place they went, and then, turning south, they steered as straight a course as Gollum could find, across a long broken slope that leaned up towards the mountains. Presently, not far ahead, looming up like a black wall, they saw a belt of trees. As they drew nearer, they became aware that these were of vast size, very ancient it seemed, and still towering high, though their tops were gaunt and broken, as if tempest and lightning blast had swept across them, but had failed to kill them or to shake their fathomless roots.
The crossroads, yes,
whispered Gollum, the first words that had been spoken since they left their hiding place.
We must go that way.
Turning eastward now, he led them up the slope, and then suddenly, there it was before them, the southward road, winding its way about the outer feet of the mountains, until presently it plunged into the great ring of trees.
All right.
Oh.
So, it's getting real, man. It's getting real.
It is. Yeah, it is.
All right, so going back to the beginning of the passage you just read, now they're going down the hillside, descending on that other side, and they're staying low across the open spaces. They're keeping beneath cover whenever they can, and obviously when it's open, they're just staying as low as they can. A bit like, a bit like No Man's Land, and you see, in any World War I movie. I mean, you stay as low as you can.
Yeah, we're told that even a keen-eyed beast would be unlikely to see them. And remember, hobbits are stealthy to begin with, and it's dark, and they're wearing their cloaks and their hoods. So yeah.
Oh yeah. So they've got some stealth here.
Mm-hmm.
And this, furtive movement goes on for about an hour in silence and in gloom, with only this rumbling for company.
Totally silent other than that. That's got to be, again, foreboding is the word that comes to mind.
Yeah. I mean, I love the word oppressed that Tolkien uses here. I mean, it's so quiet and so dark that it's just, you just feel hemmed in. You feel limited by it.
Yeah, you do.
And then they turn south as much as they can across a broken slope, and they see a line of trees. Now, these are large trees, but they're broken. And you were hinting at this just a little while ago.
That's right. The text tells us as if tempest and lightning blast had swept across. And I think if we go back to that bit about the scars of recent fires, I think we're seeing the results of unnatural storms, if you will. Storms that will have originated in Mordor, that served a purpose, perhaps, covering troops as they moved in to attack Osgiliath back in the day, or moving troops forward to get ready for the invasion of Minas Tirith, whatever it may be. The idea is that these are unnatural storms and that the lightning has caused, fire scars across the region.
I think that's exactly right. Strangely, I'd forgotten this, despite just reading this chapter. I'd forgotten this moment when we were talking about it a moment ago. That's why I was like, well, I think it's probably the lightning blast. But yeah, sure enough, that's exactly what it is.
I think so. So it's both. It's intentional and it's lightning.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I'm not sure that it was targeted fire, but I think it's an unnatural storm.
And it wasn't like orcs burning swaths of the forest to pass through like they did in Fangorn. That's the difference here.
Yeah, I think we definitely get confirmation here that there's lightning involved. Whether it's unnatural or not, that part's the speculation.
Right.
I think we can see this, yeah.
And then Gollum speaks.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
he breaks the silence.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't enjoying the silence.
Enjoy the silence.
Because all he ever wanted, all he ever needed was here. No.
Was there in Frodo's pocket.
That's right. Well said. Well said.
Oh, man.
No, actually, he whispers another song lyric, doesn't he?
That's right. He does.
He's the
I went down to the crossroads, fell down on my knees.
I can't
Ask the Lord above for mercy. Take me if you please.
Gollum sings Clapton. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, my gosh. That's so much fun.
Oh, man.
I thought speaking in Gollum voice is hard. I can't even imagine
singing in
sing.
Gollum voice is even harder.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah.
So we've got the road to the left that goes to, Minas Ithil / Minas Morgul. The road to the right goes down to Rosedale. Good stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
man.
What's Willie Brown?
Willie Brown. That's right. You got to tell Willie Brown.
Willie Brown.
Oh man, it's terrible.
Oh wow, that's great stuff. Yeah.
So
he does whisper the crossroads. He does not actually sing the song.
Gollum breaks out a guitar and a beer bottle and plays a little slide blues. And then they see the road to the south winding around the mountain's feet, right?
Oh goodness. Yeah. So then they're heading into this ring of tall trees. Which, by the way, that's a gorgeous sight. I mean, maybe not in this particular setting, given the gloomy and the oppressive nature of the atmosphere, really. But I'm imagining that when this was at its prime and this was a road maintained by Gondor, this belt of trees, this circle of trees around the crossroads must have been absolutely stunning, breathtaking. Yeah,
I'm sure.
Combination of man-made architecture with the road and maybe changing some of the way the land lay to, find it in a nice flat space. And then planting the trees, but then the power of nature with these massive trees that were tall enough to create arches as they go into this giant hall.
Yeah,
Gorgeous.
That's awesome. That's really beautiful.
So they head into that ring, and Gollum points out this is the only way now. There are no more paths outside of the road itself. There are just the roads. So that confirms what we talked about earlier. He does know this area, knows it well enough to know there are no other ways.
This is it. Yeah, he knows it.
And then, of course, it's as usual, let's hurry up, please. But we're going to be quiet, right? We're going to be absolutely quiet.
We're going to sing Crossroads very quietly, precious. Yes, we will. And then maybe Layla.
All right.
And then for our encore, we'll play Tears in Heaven.
Oh, man. Oh,
We're wonderful tonight. Everybody breaks out their lighters.
I know. I get to see it now. Yeah. That's where the scars of recent fires came from, right
exactly
there.
Right. It's everybody
stinking lighters,
flicking their bits.
Irresponsible,
and wonderful tonight.
Well, before this gets even any further afield, let me have you actually read the last bit of the chapter. I can't believe I gave this section to you, but I did, so enjoy it.
I thank you for it because I do love this moment. This is one of my favorite moments.
You're welcome. It is a great passage. I'm excited. Actually, one of the reasons I gave it to you is because I knew how much you loved it, and I just wanted to hear you read it. So
awesome. Thank you.
Go for it, sir.
As furtively as scouts within the campment of their enemies, they crept down onto the road and stole along its westward edge under the stony bank, gray as the stones themselves, and soft-footed as hunting cats. At length they reached the trees, and found that they stood in a great roofless ring, open in the middle to the somber sky, and the spaces between their immense boles were like the great dark arches of some ruined hall. In the very center, 4 ways met. Behind them lay the road to the Morannon. Before them it ran out again upon its long journey south. To their right, the road from Old Osgiliath came climbing up, and crossing passed out eastward into darkness. The 4th way. the road they were to take. Standing there for a moment, filled with dread, Frodo became aware that a light was shining. He saw it glowing on Sam's face beside him. Turning towards it, he saw, beyond an arch of boughs, the road to Osgiliath running almost as straight as a stretched ribbon down into the west. There, far away, beyond sad Gondor now overwhelmed in shade, the sun was sinking, finding at last the hem of the great slow-rolling pall of cloud, and falling in an ominous fire towards the yet unsullied sea. The brief glow fell upon a huge sitting figure, still and solemn as the great stone kings of Argonath. The years had gnawed it, and violent hands had maimed it. Its head was gone, and in its place was set in mockery a round, rough-hewn stone, rudely painted by savage hands in the likeness of a grinning face, with one large red eye in the midst of its forehead. Upon its knees and mighty chair, and all about the pedestal, were idle scrawls mixed with the foul symbols that the maggot folk of Mordor used. Suddenly, caught by the level beams, Frodo saw the old king's head. It was lying rolled away by the roadside. "Look, Sam," he cried, startled into speech. "Look! The king has got a crown again." The eyes were hollow, and the carven beard was broken. But about the high, stern forehead there was a coronal of silver and gold. A trailing plant with flowers like small white stars had bound itself across the brows, as if in reverence for the fallen king. And in the crevices of his stony hair, yellow stonecrop gleamed. "They cannot conquer forever," said Frodo. And then suddenly the brief glimpse was gone. The sun dipped and vanished, and as if at the shuddering of a lamp, black night fell.
Wow. Man, that is one amazing passage. It really is.
Such a moment. Such a moment. It is absolutely one of my favorite moments in this book.
Both one of my favorite moments and then one of the most foreboding moments right after, but we'll get to that. I could have done with this chapter ending 2 sentences earlier.
Yeah, I know.
Can we just have ended this on "They cannot conquer forever," said Frodo? Cut scene right there.
And then the light goes out.
This isn't fade to black. This is
just shudder.
Boom. Just a shudder. Terrifying. But we'll get to that. Let's go back to the beginning of that passage. They're sneaking quietly onto the western side of the southward road. So again, if you're picturing this on a map, you've got the north-south road, you got the east-west road. They are going southward along that north-south road, and they're on the right-hand side as they're going in that direction. So they're on the west side of that road.
Right.
We get that metaphor about, being like in an enemy encampment.
Mm-hmm.
I had never actually heard that word. I've always heard the word encampment.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. And this is just a shortened version of that word. It's the same thing.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I assumed it was. But I hadn't seen that form either. And they are moving stealthily here because they're blending in with this stony bank. I mean, the stones are gray. Mm-hmm. They're gray because they've got these cloaks and hoods on. So they're blending in pretty well. They're well camoed.
They are.
And they've got, hobbits. So you're talking soft feet. They're quiet as they usually are.
As they are indeed. And then they get to that ring of trees. And this is the kind of stuff I was talking about earlier, right? This idea of being in the middle of a ruined hall. The space between the trees feeling like arches of this, ancient cathedral in a way.
Yeah.
And in the middle of this hall or this ring of trees is the intersection, the crossroads.
That's right. We won't sing it again.
No, we won't. But you're hearing it, aren't you? You hear it in your heads, folks. Yes, you do. All right. I'm going to listen to that song later tonight, man. I have to now.
So let's talk about the crossroads. So to the south, the road continues all the way down, way south. To the west is the road to Osgiliath. That's at their right now as they're facing south.
Correct.
Behind them, to the north, is the way all the way up to the Morannon, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's to the east that they're going. That's their road, the one that passes eastward into darkness.
And this, I think, is a real moment of dread, isn't it? They rightly fear the Valley of Living Death.
As you should, with a name like that.
Yeah, it's not a place you go.
Even though they still don't know what Kidith Ungol means.
Pass of the teddy bear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I still like that one very much.
Ungol, I think it's Cinderin for Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, bother.
Chomp, 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 chomp.
I'm going to eat you now. Your blood is like honey.
Oh man, now I'm thinking of a giant stuffed pantsless teddy bear with 8 legs like a spider.
Yeah.
I'm going to have nightmares about that, Sean.
Good. That's what I'm here for.
Thank you.
Nightmare creature with Pooh's head and Shelob's body or some conglomeration there.
Man, I was actually still thinking Pooh's body because, of course, I think the pantsless thing is the entertaining bit. But with 8 legs.
But with 8 Pooh legs.
Yeah.
And he's just like skittering across.
Oh, man.
There's a rumbly in my tumbly.
You can't distract him with the phial of Galadriel. You can only distract him with a pot of honey.
With a pot of honey.
All right.
That's right.
Well, even in the midst of this fear and dread, we can joke, but also in the midst of this fear and dread, there is a light. And this I really want to talk about because I got to tell you, I've read this book, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 times. I don't know that I've caught this before, that Frodo first sees this light not on that statue, but on Sam's face. Or if I noticed it, I didn't remember it. I never thought about it in like the symbolic way of what that must mean.
That's a good catch. I don't know that I've ever noticed that before either.
I think that does tell us a little something, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a reminder that, Frodo needs to take a little bit of hope from Sam. He needs to be looking to Sam for that light right now. He doesn't have much hope, but Sam does. We've seen it.
I mean, if you think about this cinematically, right? I mean, we see directors do this all the time. Light and dark are really, really big in movies. A character who walks from the darkness into the light is typically about to make a really good decision and vice versa. And, the villains are often in shadow and the heroes are often in light. We see it all the time. And I'm thinking of this almost cinematically. Frodo turns around and he sees this light hitting Sam's face. And I don't think it's a coincidence that it's hitting Sam.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think we're meant to see that Sam is a source of reflected light, splintered light, as Roland Flieger might say for Frodo here.
Ooh, that's lovely. I like that.
Yeah. And he's some of that hope for Frodo right now.
Yeah, I think so.
But then turning, Frodo sees the sun itself sinking beneath the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
And note this bit about the pall of cloud and the yet unsullied sea.
Oh, what a phrase that is.
I love this. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. I mean, first of all, a pall is a dark cloud or a covering. Yeah. And according to the Oxford English Dictionary, is especially something that extends over a thing or region and produces an effect of gloom. So it's very much the usage here.
Yeah, very much.
It has been an exceedingly gloomy day here in Ithilien. Of course, the gloom coming from Mordor spreading towards Gondor. But beyond that, at least the sea is still unsullied by the gloom.
The sea. And the symbolism of that, too.
Yeah, there's some part of Arda that the darkness cannot touch.
And it's not a surprise that it's the West.
It's not a surprise that it's the West. It's not a surprise that it's the sea.
Yeah.
In which the music of Iluvatar is still heard. Yeah.
And for a brief moment, for all too brief a moment, that light that just was on Sam's face now falls on a large statue of a sitting figure. And it's compared to the stone kings at Argonath, but this is in much poorer condition, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's been damaged by years of erosion.
Yeah.
It's also been damaged by violent hands.
I know.
So this isn't just natural damage here.
This is graffiti. This is vandalism.
Yeah. The head has been removed. It's been replaced by this round stone with this just ugly, crude painting of a grinning face and a single red eye, symbol of Sauron.
And then, of course, you actually do get the scrawls and symbols, the orcish graffiti all around the statue, wherever they could reach, right up to a certain height.
Yeah.
Shagrat was here. What's that word that we aren't supposed to use because the cesspit?
Bugronk.
There's all sorts of things.
Glob.
Yeah. Never mind, of course, for a good time, call 867-5309. I mean, we know that's going to be there.
Of course. We had to go back to...
we got to go back to that well. Absolutely, we do. Poor Jenny.
I'm sure there's some horrible pictures,
Oh, I'm sure.
Some just disgusting things that are drawn here.
Oh, man. Because it's not even going to be drawn well either.
No, it's going to be very crudely drawn.
It's like that graffiti you see, scratched on a bathroom mirror because you can only draw 4 straight lines before you.
Yeah. This, and mind you, I'm not condoning graffiti in any way.
No, none of
But
us
this
are,
is not like the cool artistic graffiti that you see in the city on the side of a wall or anything.
Right,
this
with
is like
all the colors and the symbolism and none of that.
No, this is just, just gross, ugly stuff. It's just like scratched on this.
Amateur hour for sure.
For sure. Although, what's also interesting about this, Hammond and Skull kind of pointed us to this, so I want to give credit there. But
yeah,
this figure, this once impressive king, this symbol of Gondorian strength
Right.
that's now broken, it brings to mind the famous poem Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley.
Yeah.
Now, people may remember this poem from, high school. You probably read it in your English classes.
I'm sure I did. Yeah.
I definitely did. I can remember reading it.
I remember it too. I remember even my teacher. So yeah, it was in 12th grade. Yeah.
Yeah. I was a big fan of the Romantic poets. So I remember when I first discovered it. And this poem is a famous meditation on really the impermanence of worldly power and wealth. The
That's
fact
right.
that, you have power, you have all this now.
It's all temporal. Yeah.
It's all temporal. You're going to lose it someday. And I'm going to read a little bit of the poem here, a little bit from the beginning and a little bit from the end. It's a sonnet. I think it's 14 lines.
Yeah. It's not particularly long. And this is probably 2/3 of it. We just skipped a few lines.
Yeah. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies. I'll skip ahead a little bit to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
Wow. Yeah, that does really connect, doesn't it?
Yeah, because in that poem, this inscription on the stone, look on my works, ye mighty, in despair. And the works are gone.
Yeah.
It's ruined. It's destroyed.
Absolutely. And here it's virtually the same thing. Even the trees are damaged. It's a road that's no longer maintained. And then the statue itself is an absolute ruin. Yeah.
That's right. Although, unlike in Shelley's poem,
The
Lord of the Rings is going to end with a restoration.
That is correct.
Of the power on that throne.
That is absolutely right. And that is a great difference, great distinction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A good reason for hope.
Well, speaking of the ruin of the statue, Frodo at that point spots the king's head that had been removed by the orcs. And this is that moment, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
It's by the roadside. And yeah, it's still not in great shape. Of course, we've talked about how the statue was damaged by erosion, not just by the vandalism. So the statue has these hollow eyes and it has a broken beard. But there, surrounding the forehead, is this garland of silver and gold. Oh,
that's beautiful.
Isn't it?
And there's a couple of plants growing across of it. So one of the plants that's growing across it's an unnamed plant with small white star-shaped flowers, and that's growing across the brows. And then we're told that yellow stonecrop grew in his hair. So let's tackle stonecrop first, since that's the one that's named. Flora of Middle-earth tells us that stonecrop is a large group of succulent herbs comprising around 450 species that usually grow on rocky, gravelly, or talus slopes. Now, this is a slope formed by an accumulation of broken rock debris, which is also called scree. I've heard it called scree before.
Yeah, I have too. I've never heard it called a talus, but I've heard it scree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and just like eyegloss or gorse, stone crops were also found in the Children of Hurin at Amon Ruth. Saragon. Do you remember that? Yeah, it's the dark red flower likened to blood on the hilltop. That was a stone crop, just of a different color than these yellow ones.
Right, because there are like 450 different kinds of stone crop, all kinds of different colors.
It's really easy to imagine several colors,
Yeah. So that's our stone crop. That's the yellow flower. As for the white star-shaped flowers, again, Tolkien doesn't name them, but in Flora, the Judds speculate that these may be a morning glory of the genus Ipomoea. I think I'm saying that right. Ipomoea. Not Ipanema.
Oh, man, bummer. All right. And that song is now going to be stuck in everybody's head for the next several hours. That does not leave.
The references in this episode, my gosh, we have gone.
I don't even want to. Yeah. Somebody's going to tally them up for us and tell us. It's true.
From Depeche Mode to the girl from Ipanema and everything in between. Wow.
Exactly. What a crazy mix of songs this has been.
There's going to be some strange additions to the Prancing Pony playlist.
To our Spotify playlist. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's hilarious.
So yeah, if you want to see what these flowers may look like, go Google that genus and you'll find it.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about what they mean, right?
I think that's more important, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
white and yellow. What are we talking about here?
Where have we seen this pattern before? And rightly, Judd and Judd point out that the white and yellow of these two flowers may be a subtle reminder of Telperion and Laurelin.
Or even a less than subtle reminder of Telperion and Laurelin.
I think that's absolutely what it is.
I do too, yeah. Oh, man. But let's talk a little bit about this statue. The beard is an interesting bit. There's an interesting contradiction that is brought up by a late note of Tolkien's that we discover in Unfinished Tales. Not surprisingly, we're going to the history of Galadriel and Celeborn, which has a dozen different versions in the Unfinished Tales. Christopher Tolkien points out in a note written, and I'm quoting him now, in a note written in December 1972 or later, and among the last writings of my fathers on the subject of Middle-earth, there is a discussion of the elvish strain in men, as to its being observable in the beardlessness of those who were so descended. It was a characteristic of all elves to be beardless. And it is here noted in connection with the princely house of Dol Amroth that, quote, this line had a special elvish strain according to its own legends, end quote. And then I end Christopher Tolkien's quotes. That was a quote within a quote as he was quoting his father.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I got to say, this note was intended, of course, to help us understand how Legolas recognized the elvish strain in Prince Imrahil. But the thing is, it's also a little bit confusing because, of course, the kings of Gondor had that elvish strain because they were descended from Elros, son of Eärendil.
So, I mean, this king should not have a beard if the kings of Gondor don't have beards because of this elvish strain. And that awesome Viggo Mortensen beard from the end of the movies should not be there.
No, that's true. He actually should be smooth shaven the entire time, shouldn't he?
If that's the case, but I don't think it is.
I don't think it is.
I mean, obviously he's not thinking that here. He's thinking this king had a beard, and so maybe that's just something he was working on later.
That's the thing. So, we're talking about December 1972 or later. So we're talking about the last 9 months of Tolkien's life.
Yeah.
And it is one of the very last things he wrote about Middle-earth. So I think it's fair to say that he's just working this out later, and maybe he hadn't even really landed on one decision or the other, really.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
And maybe just sometimes beards happen. I mean, Círdan has a beard, right? And we know elves are supposedly not supposed to have beards, but when they get really old, like Círdan, they can.
They can indeed. Yeah.
And then we get this wonderfully defiant statement of hope by Frodo. In the face of just the absolute dread of this moment. He sees this light and he finally finds his hope. He says, they cannot conquer forever.
That's such a powerful moment because it's coming from Frodo, who has, for all intents and purposes, lost hope.
Lost his hope. Yeah.
He really has.
Like you said earlier, he's not at full despair yet, I don't think, but he has been hopeless.
Yeah.
And this light has shown him some hope, this splintered light.
First seeing it on Sam's face and now seeing it on this kind of defeated king, right? But they cannot conquer forever.
Yep.
I want to discuss that a little bit, and I hate to be Debbie Downer here, but can't they? I mean, isn't that the whole point of the circle of light? Is that eventually you do get, that Beowulfian approach of, the long defeat too, right?
Well, yes, but not forever, because Tolkien is a Christian and he believes that there is something beyond, where there is hope beyond that darkness.
Even if it's the restoration of Arda.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So
they cannot conquer forever. And like I said, there is a desire on my part for the chapter to end right there.
But it doesn't, because we do get the Beowulfian bit here.
That's right, we do.
This is not the Eucatastrophe. This is not the On Fairy Stories Evangelium. This is the bleak, black monsters are coming.
That's right.
The glimpse is gone.
Frodo says they cannot conquer forever. The monster's like, yeah, we can conquer you, pal.
Oh, really? Can't we?
Let me show you. Yeah, we get this reminder of just how utterly dark this moment really is, huh?
Yeah, and you mentioned this earlier. It's not a fade to black. This is a sudden black, shuddering of a lamp.
Boom.
Black night fell. Boom.
That's terrifying.
Instant and total darkness.
And it's not only terrifying, I think it's also really symbolic because, going forward, Frodo and Sam are going to be in darkness, really, until after the destruction of the ring.
Yeah.
They're going to have a long journey in the dark before this is over. But for now at least, the hope is still present. And,
that's right. And I think that's exactly why Tolkien has Frodo say this line right now, right before the black comes.
I agree, 100%. So, going back to the graffiti on the statue, have you seen the stuff on the walls of the Prancing Pony?
Oh, it's filthy.
I mean, some of the limericks those guys have written, they're not going to go on our show. But look, Barliman's going to have to get Bob and Nob to scrub those walls at some point. But in the meantime, does Barliman have anything for us tonight?
I think we've got time for one from the mailbag tonight.
Yeah, I think one's probably about right tonight, yeah.
So we've got one here from Nick in New Jersey, who asks, Listening to your episodes on Lothlorien, it occurred to me that the sequence involving the Mirror of Galadriel is similar in nature to the episode with Tom Bombadil. Question is, why is the Mirror of Galadriel important enough to merit inclusion in every single adaptation of The Lord of the Rings? But Tom Bombadil gets left by the wayside.
Oh, poor Tom. Yeah.
I know. Even Bakshi's animated film, which tells in 2 hours what Jackson took 8 hours to do.
Wow, that's a hard comparison.
I mean, Bakshi didn't quite get there in 2 hours.
No, that's true. He told in 2 hours what Jackson took 6.5 hours to tell, because it's only the first 2 films. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, we
fair point.
Definitely see the point, Nick. Even Bakshi's animated film makes time for this part of the tale.
Yeah, that's true.
Nick says, in the context of the Legendarium, it is an interesting sequence. We get all at once some tie-in to the history of the Three Rings, character development from Frodo and Sam, a vision that shows us some neat past, present, future stuff we can identify based on minimal descriptions, and some backstory for Galadriel and Sauron, all in just a couple of pages.
That's true.
Personally, Nick says, I love Lothlorien, Galadriel and the Mirror, and it would not make sense to remove Lothlorien from the story entirely. I wonder, though, why the Mirror of Galadriel is worth time in every adaptation, and Tom is not, especially when the Barrow Blades come back up in the story later on, and the Mirror is, to my knowledge, never mentioned again.
That's fair. That's a good question, Nick. I think my first thought as I start to kind of think through this is that the episode with Tom takes a full 3 chapters to work through. I mean, yeah, we get 3 chapters in Lothlorien as well, or 2, but not only does Tom need to be introduced first by saving Merry and Pippin from Old Man Willow, then we get the time that Nick's talking about that's covered in the chapter in the House of Tom Bombadil, the kind of expositional stuff. But even after all that, we still have to have this lengthy misadventure in the Barrows and then another rescue of the hobbits again by Tom before we get to the Barrow Blades. And I think because it's so spread out and you'd have to include all of that in order to include any of it, I think that when it comes to an adaptation, he gets cut simply because that section just keeps the story from moving forward, cinematically speaking. I love it, but it's a really long digression, in terms of a cinematic thing. It does slow the story significantly. And Nick, you rightly point out that Galadriel's mirror is not mentioned again, while the Barrow Blades do play a very important role, or at least one of them does. I think we have to look at the reappearance or lack thereof of the characters and not the mirror or the blades. Galadriel's presence in the story is significant in upcoming moments. And then there's also the vial, which is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tom's presence in the story after his 3 chapters, essentially non-existent. I mean, he's mentioned at the council.
Yeah.
And then Gandalf at the very end in many partings says he's going to go off and have a chat with it. And that's really it. So I think given that versus Galadriel's presence, even when she's not physically on screen, so to speak, I think that's the reason why adaptations skip Tom.
I think that makes a lot of sense because you can separate the Barrow Blades from Tom in a way that you can't really separate the vial from Galadriel.
True.
The vial really comes from Galadriel. It is something that she created. I mean, with the light from Eärendil.
Yeah, with Eärendil's help.
Yeah. But it's something that came from her. Whereas Tom's just like, hey, I found these swords lying on the, lying in the barrow,
Yeah.
So they can be separated from Tom. And that's what we tend to see.
Yeah.
There's also just the simple fact that the whole sequence with Galadriel and the mirror just makes for really good cinema. I mean,
it does.
You've got this mysterious and beautiful location in the realm of fairy. Add a majestic and beautiful elf queen.
Yeah.
Add some cool magic, some visions of the past, present, and future, like Nick talked about.
Yeah.
And it's a powerful scene to adapt. It's a great scene to watch on the big screen or even the smaller screen. Tom, on the other hand, is, he's a little weird for the screen.
He's a little weird, period. But
he's not beautiful, right?
No.
He doesn't have Hollywood good looks. He's a big, jolly guy. Looks like he got dressed in the dark. He sings all his dialogue in this weird Finnish meter. I mean, even I know which one I'd rather adapt for the screen if I was making a movie of Lord of the Rings.
Seriously, which one's going to be easier to adapt? I mean,
that's right. Which one's going to be easier on the eyes, man? Come on.
Wow, that is a lot harder to do. There's also the fact that it's kind of hard to explain who Tom is. I mean, we all know, okay, Galadriel, she's an elf. She's an elf queen. What the heck is Tom?
Yeah.
None of us know. So how do we explain to the viewer who Tom is?
Right.
That makes it harder as well.
That's hard to swallow in a book, let alone in a movie.
It's very hard to swallow in a book. It's one of those big arguments that people still have. What is Tom Bombadil?
Yeah.
Then there's the fact that really any adaptation is already going to struggle with what looks like multiple Deus Ex Machina for that section with Tom. You know, I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
he really is the Deus Ex Machina that the Eagles strive to be. You know,
I'm imagining a meme. The Eagles are a Deus Ex Machina and Tom Bombadil hold my beer.
Hold my beer. Exactly. Exactly what I was picturing. You know, he has to save them from complete and utter failure on not one, but two separate occasions. And then you talked about this earlier. The file really has to come from Galadriel herself, but you can get those blades to Merry and Pippin in other ways, as Jackson and other adaptations, you know, have managed.
Yeah. And I think there's one more thing too, and that's that Frodo's experience with the mirror is just way more crucial for his story arc than his encounter with Tom is. You know, his encounter with Tom happens very early in his journey. I'm not going to say that he doesn't learn or grow from it. But
no, he definitely does, but not as much.
Not as much as he learns from Galadriel and grows from the experience with Galadriel after Gandalf has fallen. I mean, it's just...
it's a huge, much more significant moment for Frodo.
Exactly. And I think this is even more true for Sam, because I don't think Sam's arc is impacted by Tom's presence at all.
No.
Frodo's is a little bit, but I don't really think Sam's is.
Not at all.
So I think there's more impact to the narrative structure of the story from the Galadriel and the mirror sequence.
Yeah.
So
agree.
I guess what we're both saying here is, in response to the question, even though both scenes do seem like, well, interludes that kind of break from the main action, I think one of them is a little bit more interlude-y and has less bearing on the action and the character arcs overall than the other one does. And that's Tom's. And I think that's why Tom's is easier to cut, as the success of the adaptations without him has proven.
I agree. I think if there were ever to be a genuine television series adaptation, which that's not what Amazon's doing, folks, they're second age. But if there were to be a Lord of the Rings television show where, let's say, each season was one of the 6 books, I think you could get away with 3 episodes of Tom in season 1.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because it's episodic. And once you're done with him, you're done with him. And he doesn't have to come back.
All this long form television has made that kind of thing very possible now. And that could be done. But
in a 2 or even 3 hour film, I don't think you could spend half an hour. And you'd have to spend half an hour because you'd have to introduce him with Old Man Willow, and you'd have to take him all the way through to the Barrows. Just too much.
And I think we said this back when we talked about Tom a few seasons ago. Like, if you're going to put Tom on screen, you have to do him right. And
and that's a lot harder.
It is. And doing him in less than 30 minutes without introducing him and showing some of the cool stuff he can do, and the lack of effect the ring has on him, and Goldberry's washing day. I mean, you need that stuff.
You do.
To see who Tom is, or to the degree that you can see who Tom is. And
to the degree that anybody knows who Tom is. What a tough job that would be to adapt his dialogue for the screen too.
Yeah.
And to act it. Can you imagine having to do your entire dialogue in a production in this weird Finnish, Kalevala meter?
Right.
Oh man.
I mean, Brian Blessed, I bet he could have done it.
Yeah, I bet he could have done it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well.
Oh man. Fun stuff. Well, that does wrap it up for another episode, another very long episode of the Prancing Pony podcast. But please be sure to join us again next week when we almost make a wrong turn in a very bad neighborhood.
I knew we shouldn't have listened to the Gollum GPS.
Exactly. I've been saying that for years.
I told you, why did we use that thing?
Should have used MapQuest. No, Thomas Guides. Thomas Guides, folks.
Should have. Oh, you went back to Thomas Guide. I was going to say we should have printed it up on a dot matrix printer from MapQuest.
Oh, dot matrix. Woo. Oh man!
Everybody out there under the age of 30 is like, "What are they doing?
What is that?" They might as well be talking about an 8-track player, man.
Right?
All right.
Anyway, folks, we want to take a moment to thank the team that helps make this show better. Our research assistants, along with our Barlowman, Becca Davis, producer Jordan Rennells, social media manager Casey Hilsey, event and Patreon community coordinator Katie McKenna, and website guru Phil Dean.
And speaking of the website, please be sure to give us a visit at theprancingponypodcast.com. We've got show notes, including some stuff from Chad's segment earlier tonight, hilarious outtakes, Prancing Pony Ponderings, and our online storefront where you can get all sorts of PPP merch.
And you're definitely going to want to check out our library page. You know we love the books here at the Prancing Pony Podcast, and we have provided links for you to get nearly every book we mention on the show. And we do get a few pennies from the purchases you make there, so we thank you.
Indeed. And we also want to thank some more really important people. our patrons at the Kier Dance contribution tier. I'll start as usual with DeMay in Alaska, James in Virginia, Tamsin in Minnesota, Chad in Texas, Lance in New Jersey, Paul in Colorado, Jerry in Texas, Bruce in California, Mario in Utah, Seth in Texas, B in California, Joseph in Texas, Kathy from North Carolina, Lori from Washington, and Carlos in California.
There's also Brian from the UK, Ned from Connecticut, Jerry from Washington, Joe in Washington, Erwin from the Netherlands, Lise in Switzerland, Dylan in Australia, Ben in Minnesota, Anthony in Texas, Dorwin in Michigan, Karen in the UK, Zaksu in Illinois, Jim in Maryland, Brian in Texas, Sarah in New Jersey, and Daniel in Hungary. Thank you all so very much for your support.
Indeed, thank you.
And folks, please be sure you don't miss any episodes of the Prancing Pony Podcast. Subscribe to the show through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your favorite podcast app is.
Mm-hmm. And one last thing, as always, don't forget to send your thoughts, comments, and most of all, your examples of orc graffiti to Barliman at theprancingponypodcast.com.
You're going to regret that one.
Thank goodness we have somebody opening the mail for us. Sorry, Becca.
Seriously.
And if you want a chance to have your actual voice heard, you can send us audio of you asking your question by visiting podinbox.com/prancingponypod and record your question for us.
Just make sure to still send the question to Barliman, please.
Yes.
Now, Barliman's a lot more reliable lately, but we do get a lot of mail, so we'll get to you as soon as we can, and your question or comment may be featured on a future episode.
As always, though, this has been far too short a time to spend among such excellent and admirable listeners. But until next time.
Farewell, friends.